The Quakers, or otherwise known as the Religious Society of Friends, began in the 17th century by George Fox. Quakers were persecuted for their beliefs. They believed that God exists in every person. They believed in spiritual equality of all men and women, and don't have an official clergy. They don't practice elaborate religious ceremonies. Quaker missionaries first arrived in America in the mid 1650s. They are widely known for their role in the abolitionist movement and women's rights movements. In the 1640s, George Fox, then a young man and the son of a weaver, left his home in the English Midlands and traveled around the country on a spiritual quest. It was time of religious turmoil in England, with people seeking reform in the Church of England or started their own competing churches. Over the course of his journey, as Fox met others searching for a more direct spiritual experience, he came to believe that the presence of God was found within people rather than in churches. He experienced what he referred to as openings, instances in which he felt God was talking directly to him. Fox shared his religious beliefs and epiphanies with others, speaking to increasingly large gatherings. Even though his views were viewed by some as a threat to the society, he was jailed for blasphemy in the 1650. Fox and other Quakers continued to share their beliefs. In 1652, he met Margaret Fell, who went to become another leader in the early Quaker movement. Her home, Swarthmore Hall in northwest England, served as a gathering place for many of the first Quakers. Fox fell in love and married her in 1667. Meanwhile, Quakers as a nickname of Fox, for who others shared his beliefs in the biblical passage that people should tremble the word of God. The group eventually embraced the term, although the official name was the Religious Society of Friends. Members are referred to as Friends as Quakers. The first Quakers to arrive in America settled in Massachusetts Bay Colony in 1656. They traveled from England to Barbados in 1655, then traveled to Massachusetts. It wasn't long until more Quakers arrived. They sought to convert the other colonists. Many Quakers also settled in Rhode Island due to their policies on religious freedom. Others largely went to the British colony of Pennsylvania, which was formed by William Penn in 1681. The Pennsylvania colony became a haven for persecuted Quakers. The Quakers that settled in Massachusetts met persecution early on. In 1656, the first to arrive in Massachusetts, Mary Fisher and Anne Austen, sought to convert the colony. They began by preaching the inner light in Boston. It wasn't long before they were imprisoned for heresy and banished from the colony. Their property was destroyed, their books were burned. Some Quakers that followed suit in preaching their beliefs were whipped and branded. Some were even executed for their beliefs. The executions of 4 Quakers changed Quakers significantly. They were once known to interrupt court sessions and religious services with preaching against the established order and the end of the world. After these executions, Quakers sought a more pacifist image that led the pacifist quietist image that we are familiar with today. In 1681, Charles II gave William Penn, a wealthy English Quaker, a large land in America to pay off a debt owed to his family. Penn, who had been jailed multiple times for his Quaker beliefs, went on to found Pennsylvania, a sanctuary for religious freedom and tolerance. In 1681, William Penn received ownership of Pennsylvania, which he called the Holy Experiment. Soon, Pennsylvania became a safe haven for Quakers. Pennsylvania guaranteed religious freedom. They became involved in building of hospitals, schools, and other civic programs. Quakers in Philadelphia gained wealth as merchants that made their philanthropy possible. For almost 350 years, Friends have sought to mend the world in peaceful, non-coercive ways and help their fellow human beings. Quakers are known for their aid towards people in poverty, famine, mental health, prison reform, assisting the elderly, civil rights, and their opposition to slavery. Quakers played a significant role in the abolition movement. However, they were not always opposed to slavery. When they first came to America, many Quakers actually owned slaves themselves. It wasn't long, however, after the establishment of Pennsylvania colony that many Quakers began to speak out against slavery. The first anti-slavery protest was written in 1688 by German-Dutch immigrants in Germantown, Pennsylvania. The manuscripts circulated in Quaker communities. In 1693, William Bradford published a second document largely attributed to George Keith, the Exhortation and Caution of Friends Concerning Buying and Keeping Negroes. Quakers played a significant role in the abolitionist movement and the Underground Railroad. Freedom of slaves. With the help of Quakers, Ben Franklin and Thomas Jefferson were able to convince the Continental Congress to ban the importation of slaves. They played a significant role in the women's rights movement. They dedicated themselves to helping their neighbor in need.